So hi, very good afternoon. All fine? And temperature in classroom? This temperature I am asking. Fine? हाँ, मुझे भी लग रहा है that it's little warm in the class. एक बार इसको देखो आप. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा temperature down कर दो, at least this one. And so yesterday we had a discussion, that brief introduction related to the things, what all things we'll be seeing in the modern Indian history. So today now we are going to formally start the syllabus. Okay? So as I mentioned to you that today's class will start with the advent of Europeans. We are going little back into the 15th century, and we are going to talk about that when these Europeans have come. And in fact, that I generally don't expect that questions to be there from the advent of Europeans, but it's not about you expect or not. This year there was a question, and thankfully it was an easier question in the prelims examination, okay, from the advent itself. So advent of Europeans would be the first topic, and then after completion of the topic we will move to the decline of the Mughals, basically the later Mughals. So we will talk about some of the important rulers from the later Mughal period, okay, and important from the perspective that what has happened and what all declining phenomenons were there at the time of these later Mughals. And then after we will have a discussion on concrete things related to the decline of Mughals, for which even Aurangzeb can be attributed. Then after decline of Mughals, so it will take almost 2 classes for these 2 topics. And the third class, okay, tomorrow we have class? We have. So tomorrow's class will definitely will be completing the later Mughals. And then after, whenever the class would be there, so at that point of time we will start with the regional powers. Okay? So regional powers, so let me tell you that what all regional powers we are going to see. So the very first would be the rivalry between the English and French, okay, in which, as we mentioned yesterday also, that there would be involvement of the Hyderabad and Carnatic, okay. So the fate of Hyderabad and Carnatic would also be decided in the Anglo-French rivalry. So that topic we'll see. Then after, we'll be moving to the topic of the Bengal, one of the most important topic from the regional powers, and then also not from the perspective of the exam, but also from the perspective of the decline of the Mughals and rise of a new things in India. And actually, when you look at the British history in India, so it is the Bengal which was a hub of their all the affairs in over the period. Today we'll see that how they have built in Bengal. Then after Bengal episode, we'll move to the Mysore. Okay, we'll talk about the Mysore episode. It will take 1 class. Then the Maratha episode. So just like Bengal, Maratha is also equally important. Okay, so equally important. And after completing the Maratha episode, we'll talk about the Punjab. So these would be the regional powers that will have discussion in the classes. And then you can ask, what about the Awadh? So Awadh fate was also decided during the Bengal's fate. Okay, during the Bengal's fate, because that the war, Battle of Buxar, which is going to happen. In this war, Awadh was also the party. So these all kingdoms, big regional powers, will be able to complete by 6th or 7th class. And then after completing this particular topic, we will move to the other things associated with it. Okay? So for example, we will be going into the acts and policies which were initiated by the British. Okay? And then we'll talk about that before 1857, what was the structure in the civil services, police and army, and then judicial organization. Then we also talk about the land revenue policy of the British. That is the economic policy of the British. So we'll talk about the land revenue policy. And then after, we will talk about that some of the tribal and peasant uprising, and finally 1857 revolt. Okay? So this is the structure of the initial 10 to 12 classes. Okay? And this way we are going to proceed. And every day that when we are completing the topics, I'll tell you that what would be the next day's topic, so that if you want to do some sort of study at home, so you can do at home. Okay? So let's start with the very first one, advent of Europeans. Just give me 1 minute. So I'll have to go to note, yes, and now fine. So let's start with the very first thing, that is the advent of Europeans. And one more minute, just 1 more minute. So you can mention this as a heading, advent of Europeans. So listen, that there would be a few technical terms which I may use today, and I'll try to explain it also. But see, there are few things that you understand in one class, but there are few things which you understand over the period when the classes are happening. Okay? So first of all, when we talk about the advent of Europeans, so as you know that we discussed in the very first class that India had contact with the European world from time immemorial. ठीक है? You cannot fix a timeline that कि यही साल था, इसी साल से start हुआ. ठीक है? So India had contact with the European world, and moreover, that in the ancient times there was a route from China, okay, which started from the Yunnan province of the China, and it came to Indian part, and from Indian part it is going to the Rome. So very famous route, Silk Route. So Silk Route was the hub of the trade in the world, and it was the trade pathway of the world. So India had contact with the European world, and as we mentioned that what were the important things which were found in India, even not in China. Okay? So China is also quite a diverse country which had offered many new things to the European world, but there were few commodities in India which cannot be found in China, and the most important was the spices itself. Spices can be found only in the tropical areas. I hope you understand tropical areas, जहाँ पे rain थोड़ी ज़्यादा हो, ठीक है? Rain must be little more, and then also there is a whole light of sunshine. So basically the coastal areas of India in the western part, okay? And then Kerala, you can say, okay? Then all the Nilgiri Hills, Cardamom Hills, this is the area. So in this area, this is the spice country of India. Then Indonesian islands are also like the same, that a hell lot of spices were grown over there in the Indonesian islands. So this is the hub of the spices in the world. So for the spices, they were coming to India. Then apart from that, what we mentioned yesterday, that cotton was also a very important thing, okay? That without cotton, it was not possible to put something on somebody's body, okay? And no matter whatever kind of luxurious cloth you're wearing, at the end of the day when you're going into the slumber, you all want to retire in a very comfortable type of the cloth, which must be cotton, okay? So cotton has hell lot of importance, and then comes the luxurious cloths, and then also the ornamentation kind of thing. For example, we mentioned about the pearls, but one more element, that India and Indonesia, even Thailand also, these are known for the elephants, okay? And elephants were important from the perspective of the tuskers, okay? So ivory. So ivories were also used for ornamentation. So these all stuff were needed by the European world, and for that they were running to India, okay? So this contact, as we mentioned, once again you listen. So initially this contact was like, when you look at the world map, so just I would try to create, so I would try to create one map, and moreover I also want to highlight that, see, over the period you need to learn how to draw the map. Take a map of India, map of world. It's a little that it's of some usage in the modern Indian history, but it's of utmost usage in your geography classes. Okay? So start practicing it. Okay? So when we talk about that, these all things. So as you know that this we can say that this is the Africa part. Okay? Horn of Africa, and this is the Arabian Peninsula, and over here what we have, yes, so this is Persian Gulf, not Red Sea, okay? This is Persian Gulf, and from Persian Gulf then we are moving to India, okay? And this part, so this much. So from where these all people have started, okay? When we talk about the Portugal and Spain, so Portugal is a country over here, and here is Spain, and then comes the European part of the world, and this area, what is this? This is Mediterranean Sea. So this is Mediterranean Sea, and here is the Italy. Okay? So I'm creating just one map of the one such small map of the Italy. So why? So over here earlier the trade was like, let me go with the other color. So trade was like that these European people, they are coming to that here in Italy. I hope you know Venice. Okay? So Venice was there. And before Venice, there is a gateway to the Europe. What is the name of the city in the today's time? Istanbul. Okay? So Istanbul is there. So Istanbul is a new name. It's not an old name. The old name of the Istanbul, I hope you must be knowing, Constantinople. So Constantinople. Uh, so this was the old name. So now how the trade is happening? So trade is happening from India, okay? It is going to the Arabian world, okay? It's going to the Arabian world, and from Arabian world, it is going to the Istanbul, okay? From Istanbul, it is going to the merchants of Venice. They were very rich people, merchants of Venice. And from merchants of Venice, it is moving to the European part of the world. So obviously the cost which is here, it will increase over here. It will further increase at Constantinople, and it will further increase at Venice. Then, so the cost was 10 times, 20 times higher. Okay? What was the original cost at India? Finally, in the European market, it was 20 times higher. So now, in the 14th century onwards, 15th century particularly, 1460 onwards particularly, okay? So the European nations, okay? European nation, and Europe is the first place where the nation state concept started to emerge from the monarchies. So now these European nations, they were in search of a direct route to India so that they can directly purchase from India, and then moreover, then after directly purchasing it, they can sold it to the European market. It will be easier for the customers also. They will buy at a cheaper rate, okay? Much cheaper rate, and it will be very profitable to the traders of the Europe. So that's how Portugal started, and it has advantage because it was on the edge. So from Portugal, they started from here, and then finally this is the way they have reached to this area was called as Cape of Good Hope, and from this to this part. So this to this part. So this is how 1498 Vasco da Gama has arrived in India. Now one more thing I need to highlight over here, that where these Arab traders are placed in Indian trade. So Arab trade, where the Arab people were the natural traders in India, and nature also favored them. How nature favored them? In the later classes in your geography, okay? I think in class number 10, 16th or 17th, when you study about the monsoons, okay? So when you study about the monsoons, and now we are in the monsoon season, so then you read about the trade winds, okay, which are responsible for the monsoons in India. And then moreover, there are 17 factors which are counted for the monsoons to happen. The most important is the trade wind. So why a wind is called as trade wind? Okay? It has a connotation. So we'll discuss, but first listen. So what is this? How monsoon starts? So when we look at the trade winds, so trade winds, that their direction, okay? So their direction is like this, okay? It's moving like this. So from the Indian Ocean, it is moving like this. So whenever the European traders, okay? Arab traders, this entire part of the world, so whenever they wanted to come India, so they actually waited for the monsoon season because the winds are favoring coming to India, okay? So they started during the monsoon season, and winds favored them to come to India. So because of the winds favoring them, they came easily to India, okay? And actually these winds are blowing towards India only, okay? The direction of these trade winds, it's towards India only. So when it is coming over here, so they have come to India. Now the monsoon season, 4 months, okay? In fact, not 4 months, till November you can say. So it starts from the June, and June, July, August, September, October, okay? So these months, it stays there. But then starts the season of the retreating monsoon. ये भी पढ़ोगे तुम लोग geography में, ठीक है? So what is retreating monsoon? That there is a reversal in the direction of the wind, ठीक है? So ये जो winds है ना, इनका direction reverse हो जाता है, ठीक है? So it reverses from here to here. So now when it reverses, so it is easier for these people to go back to their country. So they were living in India for 5-6 months, going to different parts of the country, buying the different stuffs from India, and then when the retreating monsoon has come, they're going back to their country, and when there is advancing monsoon, they're coming to India. So this is what naturally favored them. So they were natural trade partners of India, okay? They were natural trade partners of India, and that's why they had a huge influence in India. In fact, often you come across many debates regarding that, the things which are happening in the country, controversies and these all things. But one thing you need to remember, that very beginning, it is the 7th century AD when the Islam was emerging in the world, and it was consolidated. And in the 7th century AD itself, it came to India. So it was not because of that new religion has emerged and it must go to India. It's because of the trade connection, okay? it has come to India. These people who have converted or who have accepted their new faith, so when they are coming to trade with India in the 7th century AD itself, so obviously they will be discussing about their culture, their religion. So from that time only there was presence of Islam in India. Okay? Not in a very wider way, but in bits and pieces. Okay? So now I hope you understood this part. So now this direct sea route which has happened, okay? So direct sea route which has happened, it is discovered by the Portuguese. And Portuguese, in fact, for next 100 years, they had a monopoly on this route, okay? So they had monopoly on this route, and then no other Europeans, okay? They were coming to India following this route. In fact, there was another person, his name was Christopher Columbus, okay? And he was originally an Italian, okay? Originally an Italian. And he started his journey when he was patronized by the Queen of the Spain, Isabella. Okay? So she patronized him and then he started for India. But that poor fella, rather than reaching India, he started from Spain and he reached to America. Okay? So he reached to America. Basically, what we call today West Indies, the Indies island. Then, so that's the area where he reached, and then he called it Indies. Okay? So the poor fella understood the area as India. Okay? And then he died believing that this is the India. Then, so in 1492 it has happened. So he is considered to be the modern founder or modern discoverer of the America. But now it has been established that 500 years back, before this discovery in 1492, somewhere in 1000 AD itself, the Vikings, they are another type of the people from Europe. So they have already discovered America and they were living over there, okay, in America. So Vikings were the first people who discovered America. And then in the modern age, it was Christopher Columbus. Okay? So leave the Christopher Columbus episode because he did not came to India. Then it was Vasco da Gama who was patronized, and then he has come to this place, and then finally he has reached to this place. So Portuguese 100 years they were having monopoly in India regarding the European trade, and then after from 1599 onwards the British company was created, then Dutch company was created. So now these two companies, they have come to India. What is the reason that why they have come to India? So because the Portuguese power in the sea has declined by this time. Not very, it has not come down to very low, but earlier it was very strong and now it has come little lower side. So now they have come to India, and with their arrival in India, the competition will start. Obviously the competition will start. So after the Portuguese, the next people who followed were British and the Dutch. Okay? I think that within 2-3 years, both of them, they have come to India. And then after the Dutch and English, then Danish people have come. But they are a people only to mention. They didn't had any impact on India. And then finally, it is 1664 when the French East India Company has come to India. Okay? So these all companies. Then in 1498, first instance of this discovery and arrival into India. And 1947 is the year over this period that India has become a colony of the Britain, and then moreover it has been ruled by the Britain. So how many years you can count in this? Nearly 450 years. Okay? So nearly 450 years. In this 450 years, what has happened in India? And that's what we are going to see in upcoming classes. So in this 450 years of the arrival and exit of the Europeans from India, much change has happened in India. Okay? Much water has flown under the bridge in India, and India has underwent so many changes. Okay? So what are these changes? So some of the terms which I'm writing, you will also write later on, but try to understand these terms which I'm writing. So initially, when these people have come at this point of time, and by 1600, 1700, India was a conservative society. We were a conservative, we were a feudalistic society. Feudalistic, conservative, and exclusive social system. Please don't write, I'll dictate everything. Just try to understand that what we are writing over here. So this was the system which existed in India when the Europeans have come to India. India was a feudalistic society, it was a conservative society, and it was exclusive social system. Moreover, that in these 450 years, the change has happened, and from this status to this, India have changed. By 1947 and beyond, India became capitalistic society. Okay? So, capitalistic society, then at the place of conservative, progressive society. I'll define these all terms, and then inclusive social system. Okay? So inclusive social system. So this is the change which has happened. Okay? Now the question is that what is the meaning of these all words that we have written? So first of all, feudalistic. Any idea? Anyone who wants to contribute that? What do you understand by feudalism or feudalistic? What is that? Kind of. Okay? You are very closer to that. Then? Yes, very good, exactly. So just listen. अच्छा, एक और misconception रहता है हमारे दिमाग में, ठीक है? That you believe, and to clear this misconception at the very first place, when we talk about the monarchies, the clear misconception that we carry is that the monarchs are too strong and they are wielding power in every stretch of the country and then in every area, nooks and corner. That's a foolish thing to think about, okay? So that is a very foolish thing to think about. Monarchs, the way we read history, this is how we imagine that they are too powerful. They are not too powerful. Okay? In fact, their power also rests on the other. Okay? In fact, when you see the ancient India, when you see the medieval India, the power of the monarch, the power of a king cannot become very high without the support of the local chief. Okay? And in each and every area of the country or every area of the world, you can say that there used to be powerful people. Okay? गांव में जैसे होते हैं ना, that some villages there are very powerful and rich people. In some areas there are some very rich people from very powerful people. So they are the one who are at the core of the strength of the monarchy, and they are the one who contribute to the power to the monarchy. So it is most important the people at the ground level, okay? Because they control the immediate environment. Then, so they control the immediate environment, and same is in the today's system. Do you consider that today's system where we live in the age of the technology, okay? Everybody's activity can be watched. Everybody, what you are doing, what you are seeing, where you have gone, every activity of yours can be watched. Okay? You can be put on a surveillance. Then, but is it possible that even after tracking your activity, is it possible to control you completely? No, that's not possible. When in this technological age it is not possible. So how come you can talk about the monarchies when there was no road, when there is no communication, when there is no such thing? So suppose that a monarch is sitting in the Delhi, okay? A king is sitting in Delhi, and then something has happened in Indore. Pata kaise chalega, okay? The local person is the one who is actually holding the power. So from here, now you understand who are the feudal lords and what is this feudalism. So feudalism is basically a lord of a particular area, okay? Particular area, and you can say that they had landed estate, okay? We will call it zamindar later on, but initially it was not the term. Zamindar is a newer term which emerged in the medieval period, okay? But in the olden times it is samantavad, okay? The real Hindi of this feudalism is a samantavad. So there is a samant. Samant is it means that there is a person who has a very large landed estate, and in Europe this landed estate was called as fiefdom. Okay? World history में भी पढ़ोगे about the feudalism. So it was called as fiefdom. So basically in this fiefdom or in this landed estate, या बोलो जमीन, ठीक है? So on this zameen or on this land, there are n number of the people who are employed, ठीक है? And who are these people? Tenants or peasants. So these peasants are there then, and these peasants are working on it, ठीक है? So this landed estate is enjoyed by a particular person who is considered as a feudal lord. In modern terms, we call him as a zamindar. Then what is happening? Moreover, this feudal lord, that his land right is recognized by the monarch, ठीक है? जो भी king है, suppose दिल्ली में कोई बैठा है, तो he is recognizing that his ownership on that land, and in return of that landlord provides military support to the king, ठीक है? So he provides military support to the king. Okay? So this is the system in a feudalism. So India was like this kind of system. Then conservative, I hope all of you know what is conservative. It's very easy term. This one is not tough one. What is that? हाँ ऑर्थोडॉक्स ठीक है ऑर्थोडॉक्सी कंजर्वेटिव ठीक है कंजर्वेटिव का एक थॉट हो गया कि दैट ब्राह्मण्स विल मैरी इन ब्राह्मण्स ठीक है क्षत्रियस विल मैरी इन क्षत्रियस ठीक है सो द पीपल विल मैरी इन द सेम कास्ट पीपल विल मैरी इन द सेम गोत्र आल्सो सो some sort of conservative thought. Then there is also concept of interdining, take a intercommensality. So what is interdining? Meaning that that upper caste people can eat only at the house of the upper caste people. They will not go to the house of the lower caste people. Take a, and see, when we talk about the caste system, it's not only very much there in Hinduism, but in India. No matter whichever religion is there, caste system has some form in other religions also. So for example, that in Islam also, there is a such kind of division that Sunnis consider themselves to be a very higher in the hierarchy and they overlook at the Shias, they overlook at the Ahmadiyas, so same sort of system. So that is the one concept that conservative thought that upper caste person will not go to the lower caste person. Okay? So conservative thoughts, and there are a number of the conservative thoughts, you know. Okay? So conservatism. Then comes exclusive social system. What is exclusive? Less or more. Exclusive का मतलब क्या होता है? Less or more? More. Less. Exclusive means less. Suppose that Vision IS is giving an ad and then it's saying that we are going to launch an exclusive batch of the people who have cleared prelims examination and mains batch. So obviously less number of people would be there. Okay? If an exclusive batch for the mains is there, so obviously those who have cleared the prelims, they will be enrolling in that. Then, so exclusive always means less number of people, and exclusive also always means privileged people. Okay? So exclusive always means privileged people. So going by this system, exclusive social system, there were some exclusive privileges in the Indian society. For example, that if you fall in the category of the Brahmin, so you will be entitled to read, write, do the intellectual work. Okay? But no matter how intelligent you are, if you are born as a Shudra, so then you will not be entitled to go into the reading kind of stuff. Okay? No matter how intelligent you are. So that is the exclusive social system. That by birth only you have some privileges. Okay? You have some respect in the society. You have some sort of different status in the society, different prestige in the society. So that is exclusive social system. And in fact the examples which I gave in conservative thoughts, it's also applicable over here. That exclusively, a Brahmin will exclusively marry in the Brahmin community. Rajput will marry exclusively in a Rajput community. So that is also an example of the exclusive social system. Okay? I hope you're understanding. Okay? So now from this status, in 450 years, it has changed to this status. Okay? And see, इसको भी ये मत समझना कि this change which is happening, it is 100%. It's never 100%. Societies never became 100%. There is never a transition which is from 0 to 100%. We always lie somewhere in the middle. Okay? So somewhere in the middle, that like 50 to 60%. Okay? Not more than that. So there is never ever a case that 100% transition happened. But yes, this transition which has happened, that we need to understand. So now comes capitalistic. Okay? So feudalistic से capitalistic में change हो गया. Now capitalistic is also a term which you may not understand in one go, but it will take a little bit of time. But let me ask this question to you, that what do you understand by, or have you heard about the capitalism? What is capitalism? Production is in the hand of the few people. Very good, exactly. Then factors of production. Then what is? Okay. Yeah, that's the translation of the same. So, thank you. And, chalo. Very good, exactly. Private ownership of the resources in the country, okay? Or resources in a particular area. So now just understand, I am very happy that you were able to contribute in a right manner. So what is capitalism? So, acha, uske pehle, before defining it, do you consider that capitalism is good, better than feudalism? Depends, okay? See, that nothing is discussed over here, this capitalism is not discussed for the purpose that this is good and this was bad. Capitalism could be equally bad. Okay? It depends the extent of the exploitation which may happen. So in feudalistic system there was a exploitation. Okay? There was a exploitation because there is a one person, okay, who is owning entire Karol Bagh. Okay? Who is owning entire Karol Bagh, and all the other peasants or basically the farmers who are there in the Karol Bagh, they are just working on his land and they are getting some wage payment. So God did not distributed the land like that. Okay? A man was not born like this, that some people will be owning this much and some people will be owning nothing. Okay? So it is against the system of the nature. So feudalism was highly exploitative. Same way capitalism. So in capitalism you understand that capitalism is a kind of a economic system. Okay? In this economic system there could be industries also, there could be n number of the enterprises and industries, but the problem with that, this industry and enterprises are owned by few individuals. Okay? And few individuals, and these individuals, they are working like just like the feudalism. Okay? That they are making money after money, that money is used to make more money, and more money is used to make more money, and then very less is distributed among the laborers and the worker class. Okay? So laborers and the worker class, and the benefits as per the profit of the company, it is not getting redistributed to the worker class. So it is also a one such sort of system which is exploitative. But yes, it is changed from the feudalistic to capitalistic in terms of the economic system. Earlier it was only agriculture based. Okay? Now it is industry and enterprise based. Okay? So that is the system which has happened after the arrival of the Europeans. Then the next one is, oh sorry, it got removed. Anyways, so next one, what we mentioned, progressive. So this is a positive term which we are mentioning, progressive. So here, not everything become progressive, but some sort of development has happened, which we can say that it was progressive. So this progressive, how it has become progressive? Because people, there is a socio-religious reform. Okay? In this period there happened socio-religious reform. So people started to talk about people like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Jyotiba Phule. So they talked about the rights of the women. They talk about there must not be child marriage. Okay? They talked about there must be widow remarriage. So some sort of progressive ideas are also coming up. Okay? So progressive ideas are also coming up, and moreover, everybody who was a nationalist in this period, they all criticized the extreme evil of the untouchability. Okay? So some progressive things are also happening. Not at a 100% level, but some beginning has been made. And finally, the last one, which is what we mentioned, inclusive social system. Okay? So inclusive social system. So what is this inclusive social system? As we mentioned that earlier, that there would be exclusive batch of the people who are privileged, okay, who have already cleared the prelims examination. So obviously, if an institute is only launching the mains batch, okay, so it will have a very high success rate. Okay. So what is inclusive? Where everybody is given equal chance. Okay. Everybody is given equal chance. Everybody has equal opportunity. Everybody is tested on the matters of the intelligence through an open competition, meritocracy, you can say. Okay. So meritocracy. So everybody has equal opportunity. That is the inclusive social system, and it will include everyone. So for example, when we ask that what is the most important document to give the inclusive social system in India? The Constitution. Okay? So the Constitution says, in the eyes of the Constitution, you all are equal. Okay? There is no one who is bigger and there is no one who is smaller. So these all developments has happened in 450 years. But the question which arises, kaise hua? Okay? How it has happened? What is the process of process of this change? So the process of this change was based on self-assertion. Okay? What is self-assertion? I hope you understand that earlier, okay, earlier when these people have come, monarchies have come, they have developed an attitude of suppressing the emotions of the people. that suppressing their voices so that they must not speak, even if they don't like, they are not speaking, okay? But when you are self-asserting, so you are talking about your own rights, okay? That I have right to speak. You cannot discriminate me, okay? You cannot do this kind of injustice with me. So that is a self-assertion. But what is behind this self-assertion? So behind this self-assertion is the external introspection. I hope you know that you yourself visiting that what you are doing in life, okay? And then after, external stimuli of ideas. So what was this external stimuli of ideas? By the 17th, 18th century, India had an open access to the European literature and the European thinkers. Okay? It is the European thinkers, n number of the European thinkers and the philosophers who inspired Europe in the middle of the medieval period. That is considered as a enlightening period in the Europe, or Renaissance period in the Europe. So at this point of time, French Revolution has happened, okay? Then also there were a number of thinkers like Voltaire, Montesquieu, Locke, John Locke, Hobbes, okay? Then J.J. Rousseau, okay? James Stuart Mills. So whatever they have written about the equality, fraternity, liberty, okay? So these all ideas which has inspired Europe, now this literature is available to Indians. Indians are also getting inspired from this, okay? That this is our right, equality is our right, fraternity is our right, okay? Equal opportunity is our right. So this is what is inspiring them, and that's how in this 450 years India changed from one man's rule to, you know what, people's rule. And what is people's rule? One man's rule? Monarchy, okay? So from one man rule is monarchy, and people's rule democracy. So this is what is the transition which has happened. So it is just like this introduction is just like that when you start reading the constitution, and when you, very first thing that you read in the constitution is the preamble, okay? Preamble of the constitution. So what you are going to write right now, that is the preamble of what change has happened in India in 450 years. You write. And one more thing. If you feel that speed is little more, so you can raise your hand, I can tone down the speed. Okay? Just wait 1 minute. So I can tone down the speed when it comes to my speed of dictation is little more. But remember, anyhow, you need to increase your speed of writing. But since you just started, so I will be little slower in dictation, but over the period I will increase the speed. And if there would be a necessity of discussion on the techniques of improving your handwriting speed, so that also I'll discuss, but not before 5 classes. Let's see that what you are doing in the 5 classes. Okay? So, yeah, what you are asking? Badhwa दूं? See, this discussion, see, and one more instruction that ये चीज एक बार बाहर जाके उन लोगों को बोलना, because I cannot do it, ठीक है? Or you can also ask it to the, that whoever is there in the classroom, ठीक है? So you can ask, क्योंकि वो मेरे हाथ में ना तो कंट्रोल होगा, so या पीछे हो सकता है या यहाँ पे रिमोट हो सकती है, ठीक है? So now you write, India had contact with European world. India had contact with European world from time immemorial. From time immemorial. Then, which was basically partial land and partial, which was basically partial land and partial sea route. Done. After full stop, the discovery of direct sea route to India, had far-reaching consequences had far-reaching consequences in the shape and history of India. In the shape and history of India. Then you write, the first European to arrive in India were Portuguese, followed by Dutch, English, Danes, 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 and finally the French. Full stop. Since their arrival, till India's independence, in 1947, comma, much change has happened in India, happened in India, full stop. India underwent a transition. From feudalistic, conservative, and exclusive social system, to a capitalistic, progressive, and inclusive social system. Full stop. This transformation was based on self-assertion. This transformation was based on self-assertion and introspection. During this period, and also due to external stimuli. You can see spelling if you want. So external stimuli of ideas like equality, liberty, fraternity, liberty, fraternity, human dignity, etc. etc. ठीक है, etc. full stop. As such, India transitioned from, one man's rule, that is monarchy, to people's rule, that is democracy. People's rule, that is democracy. So this is a type of an introduction that we needed to start with. So now let's talk about the first company, okay? And the first people who have come to India following this route. So first is the Portuguese. Was it fast? I think it was normal one, okay? So I will definitely discuss the methods to improve the writing speed, okay? But not in the very first class, okay? Because it's lost when something very important is discussed in the beginning itself. So the importance of that technique is lost, okay? And n number of the people, okay, including some of the top 10 people who are there in this year, okay, they were highly indebted to the technique which I shared with them. They increased their handwriting, okay. And yesterday only there was one, I will not name him, okay. He just wrote an ode to me that, sir, because of this I was able to complete the paper, okay, and that's how this good rank is there. So his main challenge was not able to complete the paper, okay. And I'll share the technique, but not right now, okay. So you at your own end identify that what are the lacunas in your handwriting speed, and moreover, one more thing very important, that you need to improve the legibility of your writing, okay. What is legibility? That it's visibility, okay. See, having a very beautiful handwriting does not matter in this exam. Let me be very clear, okay, that beautiful handwriting does not matter in the exam. In fact, there are n number of the people who write in such a beautiful way, but when you start reading it, so it will take that the article which can be read in 5 minutes, it takes 15 minutes, okay. So then that beauty is of no usage to me. You are getting it, okay? So that beauty is of no usage to me. So same way, what is legibility? That whatever you are writing, सामने वाला उसको आराम से पढ़ सके, जल्दी से पढ़ सके. That is the legibility. So you improve the legibility of your handwriting. खूबसूरत बनाने की जरूरत नहीं है, ठीक है? So we'll talk about that. Also that how you can improve the legibility of your handwriting later on. So keep focusing on these two things, that your speed and then the second one is the legibility, ठीक है? और एक बार खुद अपने एंड पे अंडरस्टैंड कर लो कि कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, then we can discuss, ठीक है? So now the next part is the Portuguese, ठीक है? So it's too cold over there, and that's a good idea to change the seat. See, actually the problem with the classes is that the temperature cannot be brought down because you are 450 people, ठीक है? And you know the problem of the 450 people, that some may feel little cold, but when the temperature if it is increased, so there would be so much of suffocation in the class. I hope you understand. And one fine day, I nearly fainted in the class because somebody over here, and modern devices, modern phones, and then you can control it with your phone itself. And then somebody increased the temperature to, I think 31 or 32. Okay? So I nearly fainted on that day. So from that day onwards, I think that the sensors are removed from these ACs. Okay? So yes, so you can bring your kambals and your chadars, okay? If you want to sit below that, so that is the one option, but otherwise temperature cannot be brought down beyond the limit, okay? It could be, अगर जो 22 है तो 24 कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? Not beyond that, क्योंकि उसके बाद यहाँ पे रहना मुश्किल हो जाएगा. और हुआ है, मेरे अलावा भी कोई यहाँ पे बेहोश हुआ है बीच में, ठीक है? So it has happened. So we know, and every year we see these things, okay? That when we bring down, we increase the temperature, so people faint. And right now there is a sweltering heat outside, as you know. Okay? The problem is that after the classes are over, you will have to face that sweltering heat. So now, and when you're coming to the institute, then you have to face the sweltering heat. So let's come to the very first one, Portuguese. You can write it as a heading, Portuguese. So now listen, that Portuguese, how it all started. So it was the first, that the spirit of the adventure, okay, which actually laid the foundation of the modern world. It was proving to be momentous for India, okay, for in many ways. And one more thing, that though in the upcoming 2025 classes, there would be hell lot of abuses to one such company and one such people, British, okay? That yes, obviously, now and then Britishers, we say this thing, okay? We will do this exercise in a very diligent way. We will abuse them then, but otherwise, there is a one thing that they need to be lauded, that there could not have been any modern infrastructure. There could not have been much modern developments in India without their presence. And I will give you some examples also, that without they being in India, there would not have been many things in India. Okay? In fact, the very first thing we can say is the concept of the nationalism itself. India was not a nation. Okay? It was a culture, composite culture. We can say that it was a composite culture where there are the strands of culture which are found at each and every place of India, and that is connecting the people. But when it comes to the nationalism concept, it was not there, because there were thousands and thousands of monarchies in India. So because of the presence of the British in India, the composite culture united the people of India, and the concept of nationalism emerged. So for that they can be lauded, that they truly made India a nation. Okay? So when, and this is always like that, when you are exploited, when somebody is attacking on your country or your region, okay, so then you get united. So that was one part. And another thing is the modern infrastructure development which they have done. Many techniques they brought to India. In fact, all these Europeans, many of them, okay, those techniques they brought to India, that for that we can hail them, we can laud them, and without them it was not possible. So for example, the railways itself, okay, railways itself, which we can criticize the Britishers in n number of the ways for the Britishers, but you cannot neglect and discount their contribution, that they made a beginning in India on which we are building now. Okay? And we did not build actually. We built only railway lines. We did not any new intervention in the railway technology. It's very recently in the 20th century, 21st century, that we are incorporating new changes in the railways. But Purana system from 1947 to 2000 was the same one which British left in India. Okay? So anyways, so we talk about that. So first of all, Portuguese. So the spirit of the adventure that led to the foundation of the modern world, it also was proving momentous to India, and that's how the Portuguese were the one who took the lead among the European nations for this spirit of adventure. So it was the Portuguese king, his name was Henry the Navigator, who was the king in between 1460 to 1490. So he was the one who took lead, and then he started to patronize the seafarers, meaning that those people who can do adventure in the sea. So seafarers. So during his lifetime achievement, there was no such achievement. Then came the second king of the Portugal. His name was King John. During the tenure of the King John, there was one sailor, his name was Bartholomew Diaz. Okay? So Bartholomew Diaz, he reached to the Cape of Good Hope. The map which we created, the tip of South Africa is the Cape of Good Hope. So he reached over there somewhere in 1486-87. So this was, you can say that this is half the way to India is discovered when you have reached to South Africa. And then finally during the tenure of the King Emmanuel, okay, King Emmanuel, the sailor Vasco da Gama, he started in he started in 1497, and in May 1498 he landed at the coast of Calicut. But one more thing is to be added over here, that it's not that entirely because of the Vasco da Gama this has happened. In fact, in South Africa, there was an Indian sailor, okay, his name was Abdul Majid, okay, from Gujarat. He was the one who helped him to reach to the Calicut. Okay? So that's how in May 1498 he has reached to the Calicut, where he was welcomed by the local rulers of the Calicut. They were Zamorans, okay? So Zamorans, and as you know that Indian tradition is Atithi Devo Bhava, okay? So we Indians, we consider that anybody who comes to our home, no matter he is a friend or foe, he must be accorded some sort of respect, okay? And when he is not in our home, in our house, so then we can fight. We can go with the other strategies. But nobody knew that this is a new beginning in India, that they have come. Initially, they may not have intention to create a colonial empire, but within 100 and 200 years, they developed this intention of creating a colonial empire in India. So Vasco da Gama, what happened that when he came, within few months he bought so much of cargo, he bought so much of stuff from India, and then he returned back to Europe. So when he sold these all material which he has got from India to Europe, he reaped huge benefits then, and then he was enticed to come back to India. In 1501 he again came back. But before he coming back, there was one more Portuguese who came back to India, Pedro Alvarez Cabral, okay? So he also came in India, but he did not got any success. Then again Vasco da Gama has come back in 1501, and he stayed in India till 1503. And by this time he created many trading centers in India. So these trading centers were at Cochin, okay? And which all places? Kannanur. So Cochin, Kannanur and Calicut. So these all places, the trading centers were created. By the time 1503 when he returned, so now the Portuguese government, the monarch of the Portugal, they decided that now onwards a private sailor would not be sent to India, okay? Now the official envoy, okay? So official envoy would be sent to India, and in 1505 he decided that the official viceroy of the Portuguese, they would be sent. So the first Portuguese viceroy who was sent to India, his name was De Almeida, okay? So there are few names which we are discussing, and these names may be little difficult at the very first instance, but over the period it will become easier, okay? So De Almeida was the first Portuguese viceroy. He came in 1505 and then he stayed till 1509, okay? So we will talk about his policy later on. First you write few stuff, okay? So mention, you write, the spirit of adventure, the spirit of adventure in the sea, the spirit of adventure in the sea led to the foundation of modern world. Led to the foundation of modern world. Modern world. Full stop. Initially, it was Portugal. Initially, it was Portugal which took lead among the European nations. Which took lead among the European nations and discovered direct sea route to India. Okay? So there were two objectives of their arrival in India, as you know. Okay? One, obviously, profit from the trade. What is the second one? Propagation of Christianity. Okay? So propagation of Christianity, their own religion. Okay? And in fact, that the medieval world, it is all engulfed with the religion. Okay? That religion was an important part of the life. Even today also it is a very important part of the life. Okay? The only problem is that the private thing, that religion which must be there in the private part of the life comes to the public part of the life. Okay? So that is the irony. So religion was an important part, and without the permission of the Pope, you cannot go to any place. So actually it was the Pope, that the Vatican City, okay? So the head of the Christianity, he gave the permission to the Portugal ruler Henry the Navigator to navigate to the other countries and propagate Christianity. Okay? So you write, the primary objective of this voyages voyages, 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 was earning profit from the eastern trade, was earning profit from the eastern trade, and secondary objective was propagation of Christianity. So propagation of Christianity. So now let me ask one question once more over here. Okay? Do you consider that Christianity hasn't come to India by this time? Or is it the first time that Christianity is coming to India? It's not the first time that Christianity is coming to India. So let me tell you some historical facts over here. That Islam also and Christianity also, okay? This land is that very important from time immemorial, and very important would be a lesser world. This land, the Indian subcontinent, has been the center of the world's affair from the time immemorial. Okay? So first of all, that it was the land where some of the oldest religion of the world they emerged, okay? Including the Vedic Sanatan Dharma, Buddhism and Jainism. They are one of the oldest religion of the world. And another oldest religion of the world, I hope you must be knowing, Zoroastrianism. Okay? Zoroastrianism, or you call it Parsi religion. Though it did not emerge in India, it emerged in Iran. Okay? And in fact, it is the Vedic Sanatan Dharma and the Parsi religion. They are considered to be the oldest religion of the world. So they were contemporary, sort of contemporary. And then soon after the emergence of the Vedic Sanatan Dharma or that Parsi religion, it has come to India. Okay? It has come to India in Vedic age itself. Okay? There were references of the Parsi things in the Vedas, and there were references to the Vedic things in the Parsi holy textbook Zendavesta. Okay? So that is one part. Then the religions which emerged in India, that Hinduism already you know, Sikhism, Buddhism, okay, and Jainism. So some of the oldest religion. So after that, when Islam emerged in the 7th century AD, okay, that is the age, that 7th century AD. So very first instance that outside Saudi Arabia, the first mosque which was created in the world outside Arabia was in India, was in Kerala, and the name of the mosque was the Chairman Juma Mosque. Okay, so there was importance of this land. It was the land of the diversity, and it was the land which was feeding the world, just like we fed the world in last 2 years in this pandemic. Okay? And no matter whatever kind of lamentations Europe may do, Europe has always a bigot attitude. Okay? And Europe people, they consider themselves to be that, what Jaishankar exactly said few days back, that Europe considered that Europe's problem is the world problem, and the world's problem is nothing matters to Europe. Okay? So it's not theirs problem. So that's what is the one attitude of the Europe. So we have fed the world in last 2 years, and we have fed the world from time immemorial. So it is 7th century AD when Islam came to India. But what about the Christianity? Christianity emerged, as you know, that in the 1st century AD. Okay? And surprisingly, if you don't know, so within the lifetime of the Jesus Christ only, Christianity has come to India. Okay? There was a saint, his name was Saint Thom, who was one of the followers of the Jesus, and he came to India for the propagation of Christianity right during the lifetime of the Jesus, and then he propagated Christianity. He died over here in India, a place called Mailapuram in South India, and then his grave is also there. And one of the oldest church of the world, that there are some churches in the Israel, okay? But one of the oldest church in the world is St. Thomas Church in Velankanni, very closer to Pondicherry. Okay? So these all religion, right from their inception, they were there in India because this land was important. Okay? So this land was important. So why at this point of time there is a renewed vigor to propagate Christianity in India? Renewed vigor was because of the Islam. Because Islam, that it is Arab traders who have come to India from 7th century India, and they have hell lot of presence in India. Okay? Right from the Kerala till Gujarat. So they have presence. So now their numbers are growing, and Christianity, the people of the Christianity, they wanted to encounter Islam in India, to diminish the Islam in India and further propagate Christianity. So this is what was the second objective all about. I hope you understood. Okay? So then you write, you mention. So Christianity. Then you write Prince Henry the Navigator. Prince Henry the Navigator started to Prince Henry the Navigator started to patronize seafarers. Seafarers. ठीक है? Then further you mention during the regime of King John II, during the regime of King John II, a sailor Bartholomew Diaz. You can see the spelling here. A sailor Bartholomew Diaz reached to Cape of Good Hope. Cape of Good Hope around 1487. Around 1487. Okay? So this is the tip of the Africa or South Africa specifically, you can say. Then further you mention after full stop during the tenure of King Emmanuel. During the tenure of King Emmanuel, a sailor Vasco da Gama started his journey in 1497. Started his journey in 1497, and in May 1498, he reached to the coast of Calicut. He reached to the coast of Calicut, where he was welcomed by Zamorans, and in brackets you write name of their ruler, Samudri. So this is spelling only you will be writing, you will not write D for TH. Zamorans. Okay? Then you write, mention Vasco da Gama reaped, R-E-A-P-E-D, reaped huge benefits. Vasco da Gama reaped huge benefits by selling Indian goods in European market. Full stop. Once again he came back to India after full stop. Once again he came back to India in 1501 and stayed till 1503. Full stop. During this period he created during this period he created Portuguese trading centers at Cochin, Calicut and Kannur. Cochin, Calicut and Kannur. Done? Change paragraph and then you write mention in 1505 the Portuguese government decided in 1505 the Portuguese government decided to send their official envoy to India. Official envoy to India. As such, the Almeida was appointed first Portuguese Viceroy in India. First Portuguese Viceroy in India. Then now listen. So Almeida has come, he was the first Viceroy. So now what is his policy? What he's thinking about, that how he can consolidate the Portuguese position in India, and moreover he can eclipse the influence of the Portuguese traders, Arab traders in India, because Arabs are so strong. It's not easy to placate them from India, okay, replace them from India. So now he decided that the only useful policy would be to have a complete control on the Indian Ocean and Arabian Sea. Once you are having the complete control on Indian Ocean and Arabian Sea, so then you can pressurize the Arab traders. And moreover, how it can happen? So obviously this can happen by developing a very strong navy, okay? So naval power. So he called this policy of development of a very strong naval power in Indian Ocean and Arabian Sea was blue water policy, okay? So blue water policy, and another name in the Portuguese language they were calling is Carthage system, okay? So they called it Carthage system. But in this policy he failed, okay? So why he failed? So when this particular people, Arabs, when they got to know that this is what his intention, so they defeated him. There was one fight between the Arabs and the Almeida. So in this fight, what happened, that one of the son of the Almeida, he was killed, and the Almeida lost his vision at that point of time when his son was killed. And it happens to the people, okay? That when somebody else's are getting killed, no, it doesn't matter to people. But when somebody from their own family, and that to the son, when he is dying, so he lost his vision, and his entire vision changed to taking the revenge of the killing of his son. So he took the revenge of killing his son, but by this time it was not serving the Portuguese government interest. So he was called back to Portugal, and the second person, the second viceroy, was sent to India. His name was Albuquerque, ठीक है? So Albuquerque, and their names are like that कि पता नहीं कहाँ से ये लोग लेके आते हैं, ठीक है? So anyways, and then how come you pronounce these all things? It's also not very easy, ठीक है? Now after many years it's been easy for me to pronounce these things, but in the beginning I was like that कि कहाँ से पढ़ूँ, ठीक है? So, and there are that some of the French terms, and then they all write in the Roman letters, ठीक है? That A, B, C, D, these Roman letters, but the pronunciation is very different, and that's why very often we say, and that's a truth also, that English is a very funny language. You never know that how the things can be pronounced until and unless somebody tells to you that you are foolish to say this thing like this. You need to pronounce this way, okay? But that's not the system in India. in all the other languages of India, we have a particular one system of pronunciation. We go with that system of pronunciation only. There is not much differentiation. So anyways, let's come to the Albuquerque. So Albuquerque is considered as the real founder of the Portuguese power in India. And the question which this year it was asked, it was the easier one. So what was this? That in 1510, so he defeated the Bijapuri ruler, and then he captured Goa from the Bijapuri ruler. Okay? So he captured Goa from the Bijapuri ruler, and that's the foundation of the real power of the Portuguese in India. So now people ask that these Europeans, they are coming to India. Did they have this much power, firepower to defeat the Indians? Obviously they had this much firepower. So let me tell you that what is this firepower that they are carrying, and that's why they were able to defeat the locals in India. So this firepower was that they knew the usage of the gunpowder, how to use it, and then moreover how to use gunpowder in a cannon, okay, with a cannon, top se. So Portuguese were the first type of the people who often carried cannons on their boats. Okay? Earlier, that in India, peoples were using the cannons on the ground, but they were the first people who carried cannons on their boats. Okay? And moreover, they were highly notorious people. Okay? Suppose that there is a fight which is happening with the ruler. Okay? That somebody in the India who is local and the fight is happening. So they will behave very softly to them. Okay? That no, we are leaving. Okay? No, you continue with your rule over here. We are going. And just when everyone is believing that now they have settled and they are going back, they come back with their ship and they bombard the area and then they go. Okay? So they were highly notorious, and because of their notorious nature, the people of India were like that ki chhod do yaar, thoda sa hi zameen liya hai. Okay? But in reality, this thodi si zameen, it was an instrumental and inspiration to the other European powers. Okay? So the Goa was this way. The Goa was captured with the Bijapuri ruler in 1510, and which was the exact question this year. Easy question. You could have done it easily. Okay? So that was the one. Another very important part that you read in geography, later on, you read in geography, there are some important gateways in the world. As we mentioned that in the ancient world, it was the Silk Route which was the most important pathway in the world. But now, the entire trade of the world, there are two centers. Let me create these two centers. This map is not too good. So just to make you understand, and over here, okay, and here Indonesian islands are there where he have. So there are two straits or two such pathways. So what are these pathways? Very first one, this is the Strait of, any idea? Hormuz. Very good, exactly. So Strait of Hormuz, and there is one over here, Singapore, Malacca. Okay? So Strait of Malacca. So they are the busiest water pathways of the world, and they are the busiest trade routes of the world. Okay? So इसी के through सारा trade होता है. Okay? And you know that China is the manufacturing hub of the world. There is no doubt about it. Okay? That it is the manufacturing hub of the world. Entire Chinese item, when it comes to Asia and Africa, it happens through South China Sea, and then to Strait of Malacca, then goes to Strait of Hormuz. So this is the shortest possible route through which the goods can reach to the other areas. So now, the point is this Strait of Hormuz. So Albuquerque, what he decided, that if you capture the Strait of Hormuz, so you capture the entire Arab trade. Okay? So entire Arab trade, and then if you are sitting over here, so your control is there in the Arabian Sea, your control is there in the Indian Ocean. So that's what he did. He also captured the Gulf of Hormuz and he sat over there. So that's why he is considered as the real founder of the Portuguese power in India. Okay? And moreover, by this time, Portuguese have also created their first fort in India, that was at Cochin. Okay? So Cochin was the place where first it was created. Okay? And see, that when you look at the Cochin, so right now we call it Kochi, not Cochin. Okay? So Kochi, so that is a separate island type of part. And the land part of the Kochi is called as Ernakulam. I hope some of, anybody from Kerala in this class? I'll not ask any question. It was my own inquisitiveness that I just wanted to know that anybody from the far south. So nobody, even if you are. Oh, great. So I was not looking at this end. So Kochi and Ernakulam, okay? And I will tell you something interesting about the Kochi also, okay? Let me tell something interesting about this area. So interesting is that as I mentioned that there would be 25 days on which we will start our class with some sort of abuse to the British, but not today. So the very first one, that in Kochi there is an island, and the name of the island is the Wellington Island. Then, and the modern world, you see that in the modern world, that the many countries and that there are many nations who are very advanced in reclaiming the land from the sea. You know, reclaiming the land from the sea? Meaning that creating extensions of the land in the sea and then creating your buildings in the sea. Okay? So reclaiming the lands in the sea is a new adventure and new such engineering tool which has developed. But you know who were the father of this technology? The British. Okay? And the first experiment in India, they have done it at the Wellington Island in the Kochi. So Wellington Island is one of the first such port in India which is man-made. Okay? It was initially a very small port, okay? Very small natural area, but there was one Viceroy of India. His name was Wellington. He was somewhere around 1935-36. Okay? So he was the one who took this initiative, and then he expanded. He reclaimed the land from the sea, and that's now one of the biggest man-made islands in India. And at the same point of time, it is also, as you know, that later on in the geography classes you read about the major ports of India, seaports of India. So these major ports of India, Cochin is one of the major seaport. Out of the 13 major ports, one is the Cochin, and the hub of this Cochin port is this Wellington Island. So the British are the one who showed us the way that how to do the development. But the problem is that sometimes we have too much of opinion in the country that we don't do any development. Okay? We just keep on listening to the others. Okay? We just keep on listening to the others, and we just keep on that delaying the one project to the another project, and then delay is what is the another name of the democracy in India. So we needed to learn. Yes, obviously. See that development and democracy many a times they don't go together. बोलोगे पता नहीं कि कम्युनिस्ट चाइना से उठा के इसको लाया है. So anyways, but that is necessity, because sometimes if you are not authoritative, developments cannot happen. When you start listening to everybody, you are not listening to anybody. That's the problem. Yes, when you start listening in this exam also, suppose that if you want to prepare and then you want to clear and then you don't have, you may be having some idea. But when you start asking to everyone कि आपकी strategy क्या थी, आपकी क्या थी, मैं आप वाला भी follow, मैं सबका follow कर लेता हूँ. तो तुम किसी का follow नहीं कर रहे हो, ठीक है? So you need to have a clear idea, and then also at the same point of time that you don't need to ask every person. Okay? That's a problem. So that's one problem with democracy. In democracies it happens. Okay? And see that it is also that the version of the democracy that we follow that was sold to us by the European world and then also the Western world, Western bloc. It's not. I can say one thing about the democracy, which was actually said by the Winston Churchill, and we agree with him, that he said that it's not a perfect system. Okay? It's not a perfect system, that it is a panacea for all the problems, that once the democracy comes and then everything would be fine. But he said that it is best among the worst. So that's what is the definition of the democracy. Often you see in the newspaper that कि लोकतंत्र का मर्डर हो गया, ठीक है? अरे लोकतंत्र तो है ही मर्डर होने के लिए, बार बार और पैदा होने के लिए. So and often these politicians they say this thing. Now I'm also getting bored of this, that कि आए दिन लोकतंत्र का मर्डर होता है, ठीक है? तो है कहाँ से भाई? So anyways, and in fact there is a one interview. I say to you that since you have started your classes, there is a one interview of the B.R. Ambedkar itself on BBC. Take a very old interview on democracy. You just listen to him, that what he has to say about the democracy. In fact, he did not favor democracy in India. Yes, you may see that the person who was the writer of the constitution, okay, who was the head of the drafting committee, he himself is saying that it is not the system which must be followed in India. Because The problems are different. The problems of India, the situation of India is different from the Western world. And actually, it is a system which is mainly meant for the literate people, educated people, the people who are in the census, take care? We are often in the census, we are in the spirits, take care? And I'm not talking about the spirits which are the ghostly. I'm saying the spirits that we take from the liquor shop, take care? So that's the only time. Yeah, that's the only time when people are in the census. But otherwise, you know it. So let's come to this part. So I hope you understood that there is a contribution of these people. Okay? You cannot discount their contribution, that what they have done. Then, so you might be thinking that why I'm appreciating Britishers. Visa apply karna hai, theek hai? So now, listen. So this is how he captured this area, and then now the foundation has been let down. Then after, the next important viceroy, the last one, beyond that we don't need to mention anything. So the last important viceroy in India was the Nino da Cunha, okay? And during his tenure, there are some other areas which were captured by the Portuguese, and these areas were due. Okay? So one of the Union Territory of India right now. So Diu, then Daman, and then also Bassein. So Diu, Daman and Bassein, these also areas were also captured by the Portuguese. So which area is Bassein? We know Goa, we knew Diu. Diu is basically in the part of the Gujarat. Okay? If you start from the Somnath downwards, so then you have Diu. And Daman, when you start towards Mumbai, so then you have Daman. And where is Bassein? Bassein is Mumbai, okay? The parts of Mumbai. So the suburban part of the Mumbai, which we say, that Borivali, Bhayandar, Mira Road, okay? That Nala Sopara, okay? Often you listen to these places. So these are the parts of the Bassein, okay? So Bassein is basically the part of the Mumbai. So these areas were captured by the Portuguese by this time. So now the question, the different thing, okay? After mentioning this much about the Portuguese, what change Portuguese brought to India? What they introduced to India? That's an important question. With their arrival, some new things, some new beginnings were made in India. So what are some of the new beginnings? Any idea? Yes? In their own area, but sati has happened very lately itself. The abolition has happened very lately itself. Then what is that? Tobacco and? Yes, so there are some products, some native ingredients, okay? These are not the native ingredients of India, they were introduced. But most important, let me ask one question to you, that as you mentioned that some of the ingredients they were introduced to India, one of the very important ingredient was the cashew. Okay, Kaju. So cashew was one of the very important ingredient, or one of the very important thing that they introduced in India. So cashew plantation, which we enjoy as a delicacy. Okay? So what was the purpose of the introduction of the cashews? So just listen, okay? That wine making, as you said, okay? That Feni, okay? And that's what's the name of the wine that they created. But initially it was not the purpose to make the wine from the cashew. Cashew was initially introduced for the land reclamation. The word which I used earlier, land reclamation, and then also to check the soil erosion. So when you look at the cashew, so cashew is not the native plantation of India. And UPSC has often asked questions on the native plantations. Okay? So cashew is originally, it is grown, native plantation of the Brazilian highlands. Right? And from Brazilian highland, it traveled to the different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and in India, it was brought by the Portuguese. So cashew grows on a lateritic soil. This is a type of a soil you read in the geography later on. So it grows in a lateritic soil, and there are some features of the lateritic soil that whenever the rain, the high rain is there, so there is a kind of soil erosion and then also leaching of the land. Okay? So it checks both the things, that soil erosion, and then also because its roots are very deeper, and not only deeper but they are very strong. Once they hold the land, nobody can remove them from that place. So for that purpose they started using it in Goa. And then also land reclamation. So when such a strong plantation is there, so you can reclaim little bit of land from the sea. So what they are doing, that they are putting little bit of soil in the sea, and then they are putting a cashew plantation. So that cashew plantation is holding its shape in the sea, and then they are further building some, they are further putting some more soil into the sea. So that way they are creating their man-made islands in the sea. You're getting it? Okay? So that was the initial purpose. But over the period they realize that it is not the only purpose, there are n number of the usages of the cashew. ठीक है? So one of the usage was that creating the feni from it. ठीक है? And this must have been a chance accident that the fermentation of the original fruit must have happened, and it must have tasted something like spirits, that you are in some other spirits then. So then they started creating the feni, that is the original wine of the Goa. And then after, the cashew seed, they were also a delicacy. So they created some sort of their own delicacy, which is very popular in Goa. So I hope you must be knowing that what is the popular sweet dish of Goa. Idea? Any idea? क्या बात कर रहे हो? हल्दीराम के पेड़े याद नहीं है काजू वाले? काजू बर्फी नहीं पता है? That's not the delicacy of the Goa. ठीक है? So Kaju Katli is delicacy of Haldiram, which it popularized all over India and became a Karorpati after Karorpati. ठीक है? So the original delicacy of the Goa. Haven't you been to Goa? क्या बात कर रहे हो? None of you. बस कुछ लोग, 4-5 लोग, बाकी डूब मरो तुम लोग. हाँ, मतलब इतने बड़े हो गए अभी तक गोवा नहीं गए. चलो. So the name of the delicacy is bebinka. ठीक है? So नहीं, मैं तो सोच रहा हूँ कि इंस्टीट्यूट ही वहां खोलना चाहिए. You will be in good spirits, and in good spirits you clear the exam. So now, so it's known as bebinka, ठीक है? And that's the original Portuguese delicacy which they created from the cashews and then different kind of mixtures, ठीक है? So cashew became a household name later on when we started to mix our own sugar and then maida with the cashews and kaju katli. So that is one thing. But one big transformation in the Indian culinary journey and then cuisine was the introduction of the chilies into India. So chili was not the native plantation of India. Tomato is not native plantation of India. These two things, and potatoes also, they were introduced by the Portuguese in India. So before that we were not using chilies in our curries, and then we were not using potatoes and tomatoes. So they are the one who introduced. So potatoes and tomatoes के बिना काम चल जाता. ये अलग बात है कि पाकिस्तान में बिना टोमेटो के कोई बिरयानी नहीं बनती है. No non-veg, and whenever any such problem with is there with India, so they blame it on the Indian tomatoes, that they want to cut tomatoes to our houses. ठीक है? So tomato से उनका काम नहीं चलता, but chili के बिना हमारा काम नहीं चलता. ठीक है? And you know that in our country, in different parts, that कुछ खाने तो मतलब आधा किलो चिली और थोड़ी सी सब्जी. So, for example, in Jodhpur, sorry, Kolhapur and Solapur, if you go to that part, the entire non-vegetarian food, it's made in chili. Okay? That anybody who's from Kolhapur and Solapur, then you go to the Rajasthan, chili is important ingredient. Okay? Bina chili ke kuch banta hi nahi hai. And overall, you know the importance of the chili. So it goes into everything which is a curry, okay, which is a kind of a vegetable in India. So that is one such importance. And then also, these people, they wanted to make India, the people of India, more intoxicated. So one way of the intoxication was the liquor. And liquor, you know, that in India, right from the Vedic age, it was known as that there was a somras, okay? And the somras was nothing, but that was a liquor, okay? So a sort of liquor. But they brought a new method of intoxicating the Indian people by introducing the tobaccos in India. Okay? So tobacco plantations in India. One more thing, that their stint in India, it also led to the further propagation of Christianity. It also led to the promotion of the cash crops in India. Okay? Earlier, we were using the cash crops for our own usage, but now these cash crops are promoted for being exported from India to the other countries in the world. So this was an important impact of the Portuguese in India. Okay? Now we can write. So what is the last line that you have written? Let me see. So you write, Almeida came up with blue water policy. Blue water policy or cartage system. It's written here, C-A-R-T-A-Z-E, cartage system. Cartage system, whereby he wanted to establish the complete control. He wanted to establish the complete control of Portuguese in Indian Ocean and Arabian Sea. In Indian Ocean and Arabian Sea. Then further you write Arabian Sea. But he was not very successful. He was not very successful. Then you mention after this, in 1509, Albuquerque, you can see spelling, Albuquerque was appointed the next viceroy. He is considered as original founder of Portuguese power in India. Then in 1510, he captured Goa. From Bijapuri ruler. Then you write, he also captured Hormuz, Hormuz. He also captured Hormuz, which led to increase of Portuguese influence, in India. ठीक है? Then by this time, with the permission of the ruler of Cochin, Fort Cochin was created. ठीक है? Then change paragraph. Fort Cochin was created. Change paragraph and then you mention. So you see the spelling of the next person name. So Nino da Cunha was the last important viceroy. We are not saying he is the last viceroy, but important. Okay? So last important viceroy. During his tenure, Diu, Daman and Basin was captured by Portuguese. captured by Portuguese. ठीक है? And once again you change paragraph and few last things you write about the Portuguese. ठीक है? So mention with the arrival of Portuguese in India, cash crops like cotton, spices, tobacco, were promoted. Full stop. Moreover, they also introduced cashew plantation. Chili, tomato, potato, in India. Full stop. And one more line. They also promoted Christianity in India. So now we can take break, and then after the break we'll continue with the next powers. First we'll talk about the Dutch and Danes, okay? And then the last would be the British and the French. Okay? Chalo. The next European power that we need to discuss is the Dutch, and now onwards we'll not write Dutch but Dutch East India Company. Okay? So listen. So yes. Yeah, please. He's a trader, na? So he returned back to buy. Who earning? Once again you can ask your question. Reframe. Yes. No, 1498 not. He came in 1498 for the first time. Then he bought some stuff from India, went back to Portugal, sold that, again came back to buy some stuff from India and then sold back. That's very easy. So now, let's get back to the next one. Dutch East India Company. Okay? So, you can write this as a heading, Dutch East India Company. So, now, when it comes to this company was created in March 1602, and now this company was given a permission. It was given permission by the Portuguese government to go to the eastern nations, not only India, but all the countries which are there in India, including the Indonesian islands, okay? So Malay Peninsula. So these all places they can go, and they were given a charter. What is charter? So charter is basically rights and privileges that they would be granted. So this charter confers on them that they can fight wars in this area if it suits their interest. So they can fight war, they can do treaties, then they can create their forts, they can create their habitation, and whenever, as and when it would be required, so the Portuguese government will also help them. Okay? So they were given charter to trade with this eastern nation. So now, when these Dutch people, they have come to India, they were also very rich people. Okay? In fact, in the beginning, they were the richest. Okay? Out of all the companies that the Portuguese won, and then also the British. So it was the richest company, and because of their richness, their presence was growing in leaps and bounds. So their presence was at the two places. One is India, and second was the Indonesian islands. Then, so in Indonesian islands, they were growing in leaps and bounds, and in India also. So within a short span of time, they created their trading houses in India at the places like Agra, Patna, Dhaka, Masulipatam, Surat, Chinsura, so these all Nagapattinam. So these all places they have further expanded. But later on what has happened, that when French have come to India, okay, so another European power has come. Danes are not important over here, but French are important. So when French have come to India, there was a very stiff competition between the Portuguese and the British and the French and the Dutch, okay. So stiff competition, and at the same point of time the Dutch were like that they had to face this competition in the Indonesian islands also, where the British and Portuguese were present. Okay? So British presence and the Portuguese presence in Indonesian islands was not that very strong as it was in India. Okay? So in India, British were strongly present and Portuguese were also strongly present. So now they decided that these Portuguese people, they have decided that focus on one area. Okay? They decided to focus on one area rather than putting your legs in two boats, keep it in one boat. Meaning that decide between India and Indonesia. That either you go with Indonesia or India. But in India there were many stakeholders, so they decided that for Indonesia they will leave India. And they not only expelled the British and Portuguese from the Indonesia, they also winded up their business from India. So, but it's not as simple as the way we are telling it. Okay? So initially, that Kerala was totally occupied by the Portuguese, as you have seen that they have come to Calicut, and when they created their trading centers. So these trading centers initially they were at the Calicut, Kannanur, Cochin. Okay? So these all places. So when the Dutch have come to India, their presence in Kerala grew. And why their presence grew? Because the Portuguese people, they were religiously not very tolerant, okay? And actually they were after the lives of the Arab traders in the Kerala and in Gujarat, different parts. So they were often fighting with the Arab traders and there were religious persecution. But when the Dutch came, so what they did, that they established a good relationship with the Keralite rulers and the rulers who are there on the western coast. And they did not follow the policy of the religious persecution of the other religion, okay? And at the same point of time, they also started to respect the Indian tradition. So for example, they were the first European company in India who started to mint coins with the names of the gods of India. For example, you know Venkataswamy. Who is Venkataswamy? Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, and he is the Lord at the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. Okay? So Lord Venkateshwar. So with his name they started to mint coins. So that's how they build a good relationship in Kerala. Okay? And then other parts of the country. But this relationship did not lasted for a very long, because when British have come, so then they are one of the most clever people, most intelligent people, and British finally they have defeated the Dutch in 1759. There was a one very decisive battle. The name of the battle was Battle of Bedara or Battle of Hooghly. So in this Battle of Hooghly, Dutch were thoroughly defeated, and by this time they decided that they will focus only on Indonesian island, not on India, and over the period they winded up their business from India. They left India. So they did not stayed in India. Right. This company was created. This company was created in March 1602. This company was created in March 1602 as a chartered company. As a chartered company. Chartered company to trade with eastern countries, to trade with eastern countries. ठीक है? Full stop. They were very rich. They were very rich in their resources. They were very rich in their resources. As such, within a short span of time, they created their trading centers. They created नहीं चल रहा है नेट ऑफ वेट ठीक है चलो wait. Yes, class off air. I'll have to move out of the frame. So that's what is the one problem with the technology. ऑफलाइन तो कभी भी किसी भी टाइम पे हो सकता है विदाउट इंटरप्शन. अभी ठीक है, चेक कर लो दोबारा. सो आई थिंक व्हाट वी हैव रिटन, दिखाओ. They created their trading centers in a very fast pace. In a very fast pace. They created their trading centers in a very fast pace. Full stop. In Kerala, they replaced Portuguese. In Kerala, they replaced Portuguese from Cochin. And in fact, today if you go to Cochin, so though the Portuguese were the first people who have occupied the Cochin, but there is no Portuguese legacy which is remaining at the Cochin. You will find only Dutch legacy which is there at the Cochin. Okay? So they replaced Portuguese from Cochin. Then you write? Yeah, sure. So give me your copy. So entire paragraph I am repeating for the online students. Okay? So from where we started. So you guys can just see that from where it was left. This company was created in March 1602 as a chartered company to trade with Eastern countries. That was the first sentence. After full stop, I mentioned they were very rich in their resources. As such, they were very rich in their resources. As such, within a short span of time, they created their trading centers. Within a short span of time, they created their trading center in a very fast pace. Okay? So that was the line. Please write it. Then you have mentioned about the Kerala. So then in Kerala you write, they started to respect. उसमें आगे ऐड करो. They started to respect the local traditions of India. They started to respect the local tradition of India and also released coins in the name of Lord Venkateshwar. Lord Venkateshwar. Coins in the name of Lord Venkateshwar. ठीक है? Then further right. Their important trading centers were at, so I'm writing the name of the places and these all places you also write. So let's start with the very first. Initially, in fact, everyone was creating there, that Portuguese and not Portuguese, sorry, the Dutch and the French and the British, everybody started with the Surat. Okay? So Surat was the first one. Then you can say Masulipatam, Pulicat, Cambay, Patna, Dhaka, Balasore, Chinsura, Nagapattanam, and also add Agra. Visible, all of you? So in fact, Nagapattinam was their headquarter. Just like in the beginning we talk about that British created Madras as their headquarter, then Bombay became headquarter, and finally Calcutta was headquarter. Same way, Nagapattinam was their kind of headquarter, and Portuguese headquarter was Goa. Okay? So no, Goa was their headquarter. Okay? So then after this, you change paragraph and then you mention, with the arrival of French, with the arrival of French, stiff competition, with the arrival of French, stiff competition started between, with the arrival of French, stiff competition started between Portuguese, English, French and Dutch. French and Dutch. ठीक है? Then next you mention, Dutch had also very strong presence. Dutch had also very strong presence in Indonesia. ठीक है? Later on, they decided to wind up their business from India, to wind up their business in India, in favor of Indonesian islands. In favor of Indonesian islands. Full stop. Then you write, moreover, their defeat in Battle of Bedara, 1759. Battle of Bedara, 1759. By British, further expedited their process of departure from India. Expedited, not process. Expedited their departure from India. Don't write process. Expedited their departure from India. ठीक है? So this episode, Battle of Bedara and Hooghly, okay, we talk later in the Bengal episode that why this battle happened at the very first place. So today we are not mentioning, we are not going into that. In Bengal episode we'll talk about that why British defeated them in this battle. Okay? So now this is about the Dutch company. Okay? Not much more than this is required. Then let's move to the next company, which is also for the namesake only. Okay? So that is the Danish East India Company. Okay? So please mention the next one, Danish East India Company. Oh, sorry. Danish East India Company. So this is a company from Denmark. Then so now Danish East India Company, as we can expect that it is also coming from the same perspective to earn the profit from the trade. But actually here it was opposite. Their primary objective was propagation of Christianity and secondary was profit from the trade. Okay? So their main intention was basically the propagation of Christianity, and their presence in India was limited to two places only. So these two places were basically, this company was created in 1616 and then they came to India. So one place where they created their the trading center, that was the Trankebar, which is in Tamil Nadu. Okay? So Trankebar in Tamil Nadu, and the second place which they created was the Frederick Nagar, which falls under the area of the Srirampur in Bengal. Okay? So Srirampur in Bengal. So these two places. Moreover, In the later phases, the Srirampur area of the Bengal, it became hub of their activity, and that became their headquarter. So Srirampur was also known for the missionary activity. What is missionary activity? Christian missionary activity. Okay? That propagation of Christianity. And this is the place where they established in 1799. There was one Danish officer, his name was William Reverend Carey, and he established a printing press in Srirampur. But remember, that Portuguese were the first people to introduce printing press in India. We will talk about that in the later episodes. Okay? But here he established printing press for the purpose of publication of Bible and nothing else. Okay? So only for the Bible and to propagate Christianity. And moreover, in 1819, the same officer, he also created Srirampur College of Education based on the higher education model in the Europe. But what happened by 1845, since their presence was not very strong, and in the later episode you read that 1813 there was one act which was initiated by the British in India, executed by British in India, that is known as the Charter Act of 1813. So in Charter Act of the 1813, British, they themselves assumed the responsibility of propagation of Christianity in India. Before that it was not their official policy. Okay? They were propagating but not official policy. So now from 1813 when it was officiated, so now this people of the Denmark, they sold all their properties in India to the British, and by 1845 they winded up from India. Okay? Please write, mention. This company was created in 1616 1616. Their primary objective was propagation of Christianity in India. Christianity in India. Then you mention they created their trading center. They created their trading centers at Tranquebar. So you can see spelling what they were writing. In fact, it will differ from the Indian system of writing. So Tranquebar in Tamil Nadu, and then Frederick Nagar. So Nagar, they were not writing the way we write Nagar. They were writing as a Nagore. Okay? So Frederick Nagar near Srirampur in Bengal. Srirampur. So in fact, these guys, they were not writing it Srirampur. I have written Srirampur, but their spelling was like, let me write it over here, what they were writing. So as if that it is something to be applied in the hair. Srirampur. Okay? So, but the point is that भगवान श्री राम के नाम के साथ कोई खिलवाड़ नहीं, तो ओरिजिनल ही लिखो. ठीक है? So Srirampur. Then further you write after this, in 1799, the Danish officer William Reverend Carey, Danish officer William Reverend Carey, established a printing press at Srirampur. Established a printing press at Srirampur to publish Bible. At Srirampur to publish Bible and propagate Christianity. And propagate Christianity. Propagate Christianity. ठीक है. In 1818-19, so 1818 लिखो. In 1818 he also established Srirampur College. Srirampur College for higher education. Srirampur College for higher education in Western style. Higher education in Western style. ठीक है. And then you write after that. In 1885, not 85, sorry, 45, sorry, 1845, cut it. 1845, they handed over, basically they're selling it to the Britishers, okay? So they handed over all their properties in India, to British. And winded up their business from India. Okay? So this is about the Danish East India Company. So that was relatively not important. Now we are at the juncture where we are going to discuss the most important. So today we can discuss about the British company. Okay? Though the time would be little less to discuss the entire portion, but yes, definitely we need to write something about the British today. But first you understand. So this British company, okay, it was created in 1599. Okay? Way early than the Dutch company. Okay? So 1599, but the company's name in the beginning, it was not East India Company. The beginning name, that East India Association of Merchant Adventurers. So that was the name which was created in the beginning, and on 31st of December 1600, Queen Elizabeth, she gave the royal charter to the company to trade with the eastern nations. Then this charter was given. Charter, I hope that what we wrote in the earlier times, that is the same applicable over here. So I hope you understand that what is charter. So it is a document of the privileges, okay, whereby they can fight, they can do treaties, and they create their fortress, their habitation in any of these countries. So this charter was given for 15 years, but later on it was further extended. So how it has happened? So first you understand. One of the very important imperial power in the world at this point of time, or strongest naval power in the world, was Spain. But nobody asked a question, why Spain never came to India? All these European companies, they have come to India. Why Spain never came to India? Yes? Yes. Yes, actually, okay? So that's the one thing, okay? So that the name is difficult, the Treaty of Tordesillas, okay? But it seems like that something like is for eating tortillas. Then, so this is the way we can remember. See that you need to make your journey funny, okay? Otherwise, there would be n number of the facts you will not be able to remember. This is a reality. You need to create mnemonics. You need to associate funny things with your facts so that you can remember. And this is just one part. The history has started, but you have n number of the facts in the geography, in polity. So you will have to devise your own methods how you will be remembering. And the better way is to create mnemonics and then funny ways to remembering it. So Treaty of Tordesillas was there between the Portuguese and the Spain, and they were the initial countries who took endeavor in the seafaring activity. So what they did, that they decided that we cannot fight all the time. What we can do, that we divide the world for exploration. So what they did, that they created a imaginary line in the Atlantic Ocean. Okay? So imaginary line in the Atlantic Ocean, and then they said that the western side of the imaginary line would be explored by Spain, and then eastern side would be explored by the Portuguese. So that was their treaty. Moreover, what has happened, that in between 1500 to 1600, it is Spain which was strongest naval power. Okay? And in fact, Portuguese were also becoming dependent on the Spain for their naval power. So The Britain was looking at these all developments, and Queen Elizabeth, okay, of Britain, she made a comment somewhere in 1875 that ships make history, okay. So she knew that if you are not very strong in the naval power, if your navy is not strong, so you cannot conquer the world. So after her statement, the British people, they made huge strides in the development of the naval power, and in 1580 the Spanish Armada was defeated by the British. Okay? So that is a big impetus which is given to the British. Okay? So once they have defeated the strongest naval power of the world, which means that they are equally strong or better than the Spanish power. So from here onward they started to build on, and by 1600 they were one of the strongest naval power in the world. Okay? So 1600, 31st of December 1600, she gave this royal charter, and as such that the envoys of this company started coming to India. But initially after 1600, whichever envoy which came to India, official envoy which came to India, they did not achieve much success in India. The reason being that why they did not achieve success in India. Who is the ruler in India at this time? 1600. 1600 was Akbar. Okay? 1600 was Akbar, and 1605 is the death of the Akbar. Okay? And after his death, his son Jahangir is coming to power. So over the period, what has happened from the 1500 till this period, Portuguese have increased their influence in the Mughal court. I will share one funny thing with you, that not funny but one interesting part of the history. So Akbar, as you know, that he was known for his good governance, and he was tolerant, and he reversed many such discriminatory policies which were initiated by many of the rulers of the Delhi Sultanate. So one of the policy, jizya, we talk about that later on also, many such religious persecution policy he reversed. And one more initiative of the Akbar was that he created one such big hall in Fatehpur Sikri. And the name of this hall, or basically this building, was Ibadat Khana. So Ibadat Khana was meant for doing the discussion and deliberation with the representatives of the different religion. Okay? Because Akbar, when he formally studied, that he went through the tenets of the Islam, he was not very much satisfied, and he wanted some answers from the other religions. So he started this discussion. He invited all the representatives of the religions, okay? That Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, and Islam. So these were the 5 major religions which were represented in the Ibadat Khana. So other representatives are there, but the question is that who represented Christianity in this particular Ibadat Khana? So it was Portuguese who represented Christianity in the Ibadat Khana, and the discussion which was happening with the Akbar. So Portuguese, right from the beginning, they were very sure that they will be able to convert Akbar into Christianity. Okay? And Akbar was soft enough to give them enough opportunity to do that. But finally what happened, that everybody who was expecting that they will convert Akbar to their own religion, they were not successful. And Akbar, not only that he believed the expectations of all the other people, but he came up with his own religion. Okay? And his own religion was Deen Ilahi. Okay? So Deen Ilahi. So now this has happened. Once again, these Portuguese are having very high hope. Okay? And in fact, Jahangir was one such example. When it comes to the personality of the Jahangir, so religious policy is a different aspect, but he believes in religion or not, that is a one other aspect. So he was not an ardent follower of the religion. In fact, he was more of a person who is an atheist, did not believe in God. Then, so now the Portuguese were highly enthusiastic that Jahangir, we will convert Jahangir to Christianity. So one funny thing which has happened in the initial tenure of the Jahangir, that they convinced Jahangir that ki kuch to do, matlab at least some concession you must give. So what he did, that Jahangir gave 3 of his nephews, okay, and some of his grandsons, that they must be converted to Christianity. They were converted to Christianity. You may not be knowing that they were converted to Christianity, and all these nephews and the cousins, they were wearing the Christian clothes, and then they were holding one cross of the Christianity. They were moving one village from another village. So Jahangir gave them 3 months, okay, that in this 3 months, if these guys, okay, who have converted, if they are satisfied, so then I will also convert. If they are not satisfied, so I will not convert. So these 3 guys, that these nephews and cousins of the Jahangir, they were not satisfied, and as such Jahangir did not converted. But he respected the feeling of the Portuguese. So this has happened. Then, and you know, very recently this was the question which was asked in Kaun Banega Karodpati. Okay. So I was also thinking that if I would have been at that place, so I would not have been at this place. Okay. So, because I knew the answer. So, so now listen. So this has happened. So now they had high hopes, and it shows the influence of theirs in the Mughal court. Okay, obviously. So the influence was there. So in 1608, finally, there is a one British envoy which has come. It was led by Sir William Hawkins. And Sir William Hawkins, he was also British. For one thing, they must be lauded that they were very clever and they did their homework perfectly. So what he did, that he knew what is the language of the Mughal court. So the language which was spoken in the Mughal court was Turkish language, Persian language. Okay? So he knew that, and Mughals originally, when you look at the descent of the Mughals, so they are half Turkish and half Mongol. Okay? Their lineage is one from the Chinggis Khan, okay, and one is from the Amir Timur of Turkey. So they are very well conversant in the Turkish. So what he did, that initially he married a lady from the Turkey. He learned the Turkish language, okay, and then he came to the Mughal court. So when he conversated with that Jahangir in Turkish language, obviously he was impressed. Okay? So he was impressed, and what he did, that he gave him necessary permission to create the trade houses at Surat and Masulipatam. So as such, that the construction of the trading center started at Surat and Masulipatam. Moreover, he was also given official position, which we call as a Mansabdar position. Okay? So he was given some Mansabdar status, and he was also getting some salary for that. But very soon what happened, that these Portuguese were not liking this kind of privilege which is given to the William Hawkins. So they started to create a pressure on the Jahangir. And as such, they were able to ensure that if they are going to fight with the British, then Jahangir will not intervene. Okay? So Jahangir said that you guys fight, okay? I will not interfere. So then there was a fight between the Portuguese and the William Hawkins, in which William Hawkins was defeated. Okay? And he was expecting some sort of help from the Jahangir, but it did not came. So he was frustrated and he left India by 1611. So he left India. Now, so once he has left India, already the two trading centers has been created at Surat and Masulipatam. Once again, another British person, okay, another British envoy, they are not losing hope, okay, they are sending somebody else, and this is the time when they will get the full concession. So the person was Sir Thomas Roe. So Sir Thomas Roe has come to India in the Jahangir's court to seek the necessary permission of the Jahangir, and he got the full concessions, okay, all the permission, and no Portuguese pressure worked at this point of time. So why Portuguese pressure did not work at this point of time? There is a reason behind that, okay? And there is an entire gamut of the story which will never be told in such a short span of time. So just listen that what is that story. So story is going back to the one of the habit of the Jahangir, okay? As you know, that Jahangir was very weak on love aspect, okay? That, yeah, so, and the fortune, sometimes it did not favored him. So initially he was falling in love with that lady Anarkali, ठीक है, जिसको अकबर ने चुनवा दिया, ठीक है. And पता नहीं, the real story was what was that? But he was very disaffected with these all episode, that he loved somebody and then the people conspired against that love, ठीक है. Then what happened in the second episode, that at this point of time, already he's married to some people, ठीक है, but at this point of time, there was a lady. Her name was Mehru Nisa. And Mehru Nisa, she was married to one of the noble of the Mughal. His name was Sher Afghan, okay, who was posted in Bengal. And she was one of the divine beauties of that time, very beautiful. So Jahangir has this weakness. So once he has seen Mehru Nisa and he has fell in love with that lady, okay? Infatuation. We cannot say this is love, that this is infatuation. Then finally he was a master of conspiracies also. So earlier he got killed one of the closest friend of the Akbar. In fact, the closest friend of the Akbar, because he believed that this closest friend of the Akbar was responsible for many such things which has happened in the court against him. So I hope you know who is the closest friend of the Akbar. Who was? No idea. Birbal. है ना? It was Abul Fazl. Okay? So not Birbal. So the person who wrote Aine Akbari, the memoir of the biography of the Akbar, Akbarnama or Aine Akbari. So he was eliminated under a conspiracy by Jahangir. So now Jahangir once again he created a conspiracy and he got this person eliminated, Sher Afghan. So the tradition in the Mughal house was that whenever any such Mughal noble is killed, so the wife of that person will be brought back to the Mughal harem. Same thing has happened in the past. When you read the medieval history, so at that point of time, the people may elaborate that when Bairam Khan, okay, one of the general of the Akbar who fought for him in the second battle of Panipat, and when he retired, he was going for a Hajj to Makkah. In the way he was killed, so then Akbar married the wife of the Bairam Khan. Okay? So that was one such tradition in the Mughal house. So now the Meherunisa has been brought to the Mughal harem. And in Mughal harem, so now she is living in the Mughal harem, and one fine day, Jahangir proposed her. Okay? That was the original intention and that was the plan. So he proposed her, and then the lady was fine enough, okay, to accept that offer. In fact, she wanted this only, okay, this to happen. So, and this happened. So she accepted it, and now she got a new name, Noor Jahan. Okay? So Noor Jahan, but you know that she was not only the beauty, but she was a beauty with the brain. Then, and moreover, she had her own ambition and aspiration. Okay? So she wanted to control the entire Mughal politics and show a new episode in the Mughal India. Okay? What has happened at the time of the Rajia Sultan in the Delhi Sultanate? So she wanted to further build from that episode and to create a lady emperor of India. So what she did, that she very finely, she observed the habits of the Jahangir. So Jahangir had two habits, okay, two important habits, and in fact he was all the time in these two things only. One was that having wine, and second was painting all the time. He was freak about the painting. All the time he was painting something, okay? And he was one of the finest painter of that time. So what she did, that she made sure that always a canvas must be available to him, and then she made sure that his glass of the wine never becomes half. Okay? There is always a Kaniz who will be pouring some sort of wine in the glass. So now Jahangir was always intoxicated, and then she slowly took the control of the Mughal administration, and she flooded her own people into the Mughal court. So for example, that she brought her father, Mirza Ghyas Beg, and he got the highest position in the Mughal court after the Mughal monarch, that is the position of the Wazir, that prime minister of the court. So her father became Wazir, her brother Asafuddaula. He became the second importance, he got the second importance position, that was the position of the Khane-Saman, the person who headed the royal house and the royal treasury. So that's how she has flooded her own people into the Mughal court. And moreover, she started her own system of administration, a small cabinet kitchen. Okay? Just like in today's system, prime ministerial system, we have a cabinet minister, और उसमें भी कुछ cabinet minister बहुत important होते हैं, ठीक है? Like defense minister, home minister, and finance minister, as you know, ठीक है? That is visible to all of you. So same way here also she created a small kitchen cabinet that was known as junta, and that's how she was controlling the entire Mughal administration. So now Sir Thomas Roe has come, and moreover, she has also identified that these Portuguese are the one who are there from the long time, and they are a nuisance. So she wanted to reduce their influence in the court. So now she gave home tuitions to the Sir Thomas Roe. Okay? And what was this home tuition all about? That she said to him that this person is a freak about the paintings. Okay? If you bring any such gift, which is painting, so he will shower on you all the blessings. Then, and that's what Sir Thomas Roe did, that he brought so many beautiful European paintings when he has visited Jahangir's court, and Jahangir was flat. Okay? And see, this is the importance of the gift. He was the emperor of India. Then, and there was not the dearth of resources for him, or wealth particularly, but a small gesture of the gift says a lot, and that's what happened. So he was flat, and he gave all the necessary permission. He did not buckle down under the pressure of the Portuguese, and that's how, you know. So this episode turned out to be that Noor Jahan's husband originally, and she had a daughter with that husband, Ladli Begum. Then, so Noor Jahan's husband was killed. She has not forgotten. And that revenge she wanted to take, and she took this revenge. Baap ka, bhai ka, sabka badla. Okay? So, with all the Indians, yeah, she made this entry possible for the British. Obviously, she made this entry possible, and that's how the British from here onwards, they built something which was unsurpassable for next 200 years. Okay? So actually, I attribute our slavery to the Noor Jahan. Okay? You're right. Mention British East India Company. British East India Company. Then you mention initially the company was created in 1599 as association of merchant adventurers. Association of merchant adventurers. Full stop. Then on 31st of December 1600, on 31st of December 1600, Queen Elizabeth gave royal charter for 15 years. Royal charter for 15 years to the company to trade with eastern countries. Full stop. Over the period, after full stop, over the period, the company came to be known as British East India Company. British East India Company. Full stop. The initial, after full stop, the initial envoys of the company, did not got much success in India. Full stop. In 1608, Sir Hawkins visited Jahangir's court. Sir Hawkins visited Jahangir's court, and this time British got permission to create trading centers. At Surat and Masulipatam. ठीक है? Hawkins was also given Mansabdar position. In Mughal court. Full stop. By 1611, by 1611, under the pressure of Portuguese, under the pressure of Portuguese, he lost, under the pressure of Portuguese, he lost the Mughal favor. He lost the Mughal favor. Done? Then you mention favor. Change paragraph. You write. In 1615, in 1615, another envoy led by, in 1615, another envoy led by Sir Thomas Roe. Sir Thomas Roe visited, another envoy led by Sir Thomas Roe visited Jahangir's court. Visited Jahangir's court, and he was given all the necessary permission. All the necessary permission and concession to increase British presence in India. To increase British presence in India. Done? So now listen. So after this episode, what has happened that British created their trading centers at Bharuch, Ahmedabad, okay? So Bharuch, Ahmedabad and Agra. In 1639, they got some villages on lease in today's Madras, okay? Today's Chennai basically. So now they clubbed these all villages and they created first of their fort in India, which is known as St. Fort George, okay? And this area at Madras, St. Fort George, it became hub of their activity, okay? Then comes the Bombay area, that how Bombay has gone to the British. So basically Bombay, as we said, that it was there with the Portuguese, okay? So there was one matrimonial alliance between the Portuguese and then also the British Prince Charles II. So the Portuguese princess Catherine of Braganza, she was married to the Prince Charles II of the Britain. So in this marriage, the island of the Bombay was transferred to the British Crown as a dowry prize, okay? But what British Crown will do with this island? So what they did, after 7 years, okay, in 1668, they transferred the island of Bombay to British East India Company at a nominal price of £10. Okay? So it is a symbolic price. Okay? It's not a big money. So at a symbolic price of £10, it was transferred to the British East India Company. And when it has come to the company's hand, so it became the trading headquarter of the British in India. Okay? So that's how the Bombay has come into the lap of the British. Then what about the Calcutta? So the presence of the British in the eastern part of the country was little late, okay? Because Calcutta, or basically the Bengal, it was the richest province of India, and it was the most important province of India at that time. So Aurangzeb was not giving permission to create any trading center by anyone by that time. But in 1690, due to the persuasion of the British, Aurangzeb became little soft and he gave the permission that they can go to Bengal also. So as such, when they have got the permission, so they got 3 villages on lease in today's Calcutta, and these 3 villages were Govindpur, Sootnati and Kalikata. Okay? They clubbed these 3 villages, and after clubbing they created St. Fort William, and this became the political hub of the British. So if Bombay was the trading hub of the British, so Calcutta became the political hub of the British. Okay? And they named this particular area after that 3rd village. What was the name? Kalikata. Okay? So they named it Calcutta. So Calcutta was not the name, it was given by the British only. Okay? Please mention. You're right. So very soon, they created their trading centers very soon they created their trading centers at Bharuch. Bharuch, I hope you know where is Bharuch? In Gujarat only. Okay? So Bharuch, Ahmedabad and Agra. Ahmedabad and Agra. Full stop. In 1639, they got some villages. They got some villages on lease. They got some villages on lease near Madras. Near Madras, where they created Sanford George. Where they created Sanford George. Then you mention the entry of British in eastern part of the country. Oh sorry, just 1 minute. Entry of British, first we need to write about the Bombay. So you cut this particular line, I'm very sorry. You cut this line and first we write Bombay and then we'll move to the eastern side. Okay? So you change paragraph and then you write that in 1661, there was a matrimonial alliance. In 1661, there was a matrimonial alliance between Portuguese princess Catherine of Braganza. And British Prince Charles II. Portuguese Princess Catherine of Braganza and British Prince Charles II. ठीक है? Full stop. The island of Bombay was transferred. We are calling it an island of Bombay. I hope you know that it is actually an island only. How many islands are there in Bombay? 7 or 11. 11 is the newer one, 7 originally. Okay? And what is the original name of the Bombay? Mumbai. British were not able to call the... It's working? Not working. Okay? So it's already 4 o'clock. That's why they said that कि exceed कर रहे हो तुम. जल्दी जाओ. अरे इतनी फोटो मत खींचो यार. So I hope it will work. Again off here. ठीक है? हाँ पता है भाई. So should I continue? Story continue कर रहे थे ना? So anyways, we were talking about the Bombay only. So they were not able to call it that Mumbai. In fact, their pronunciation was very compromised. And you must pat on yourself, okay? Pat your back that we Indians, we can communicate in any language, okay? It's not a difficulty for us, okay? But yes, the people of the European world, they cannot communicate like us, okay? So they were having this difficulty, and in fact the name of the Bombay was Mumbai, and it was named after a Devi. The name of the Devi is the Mumba Devi. Okay? So that's the original thing. Okay? So now let's come back to not this part. I will not write anything. We will just, so it has gone off. मुझे पता भी नहीं है कि कहाँ से on होगा. AC भी off हो गया है. Okay. But we need to write. One last paragraph is remaining. ठीक है? So लिखने का काम कर लो. ठीक है? And then we'll have discussion. So you write. What you have written? Bombay was transferred to British Crown. The island of Bombay was transferred to British Crown as dowry price. Dowry price. Then in 1668, 1668, in 1668, Bombay was transferred to the East India Company, EIC you can mention. What should we do? हाँ, ऑनलाइन नहीं जा रहा है, ठीक है। अब कल फिर से वापस से बॉम्बे में चलेंगे, कुछ नई कहानी लेके आऊंगा, ठीक है। चलो चलो, थैंक यू, चलो बाय।